Folks, welcome back to the iHealth channel, the Biz World channel, the ABC network. New day, new show, new topic. And today we are going to touch on a little bit of tech, a little bit of business development, a little bit on AI, a little bit on dating. I mean, I don't know. We got to touch on a lot of stuff here because my guest is an innovator. I have to really admire this particular person and give him all the credits, because as someone who had himself put in a vision and you work towards your vision, I can always appreciate someone that is building, different things that will serve different purposes for people around the world and help them achieve certain things in life. And so with me, I have Eric Mchugh, president at ShopX Labs and chief growth officer of Data Inc. Eric, welcome to the show.
Hi, Hurricane. Thank you so much for having me. Honestly, I'm really grateful. And I love the intro. You hit the nail on the head. I think we're all happiest when we're serving other people. The one thing I do want to just inject is thank you for the credit, but I got to give the credit up to God, the creator, consciousness, whatever you want to call it, because I'm just kind of acting and they're running the show.
Well, so on that note, I mean, you're right. I think sometimes we take the credit for the work we do, but none of the work we do is
Yeah.
really us. I mean, we get it somehow inspired to these things, and we get the support of the Almighty, and that's how
Yes.
it is. And thank you for doing that because I haven't had that in a show before, so this is probably one of the first ones.
Yeah.
But really, it's always beautiful to hear that because at the end of the day, we're only humans and we
Yes.
serve a purpose. And now you said it best is we're here to serve a purpose, and that purpose sometimes is bigger than us. And we are made, in this world somehow to do things. And we're the lucky ones that are able to do some things, and change things for the future and for people around us and for humanity. So thank you for that, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Of course, I can tell we'll get along.
Oh no, this is
Yeah.
fun. And but again, you are a visionary, you are creator, of technology. You are also advancing, the technology to what it is today. I mean, the topic of AI is just big these days, right? I mean, it's the new wave. Everything is talking AI, chat GPT, and I mean, there's thousands of AI functions now on apps and platforms. And that's just one way to look at it. But you're touching on a lot of things. I mean, it's you are transforming lives, making lives easy. And I have to say, technology does have a purpose and it kind of changes the dynamics. I mean, you and I right now, East Coast, West Coast,
Yeah.
having this conversation, this couldn't have been possible without technology. I mean, everything that we have today, if it wasn't about some innovator somewhere back in the last 100 years, building some idea, we wouldn't be here today, right? So these ideas build upon others and so on and so forth. And we all take some of that and expand it and you see a need for it. You and I were talking about our friends at Podmatch, and it's that kind of concept, right? So I mean, credit to Alex here from this platform. It really, it's the idea is that there are people that see things, they see a need, and they act on it. And really,
Yep.
that's really what it is. Not everybody does, and we hope that more people do that. But at least for those that are doing it, I mean, just congrats because that's a step that is unique in humanity, and you have your signature, that say, or at least you have the legacy, that you will leave in this world. So before we get into all the your companies and your work, let's talk about Eric, from like, the get-go, like how, you got into all this. What was the source of your, vision? How did that happen?
Yeah, sure. So nice to meet you. My name is Eric, 30 years old. I'm blessed to be living in beautiful California. And honestly, how I got into this, that's an interesting question. It just kind of happened. Like I'm just taking it day by day, moment by moment, and I'm just following my genuine intellectual curiosity. And wherever that leads me, that's where it leads me. So I'm a big believer on once you start walking the path reveals itself. So like my overall thesis is I think we're happiest serving other people because like think about like give someone 20 bucks versus asking someone for 20 bucks. The giving 20 bucks obviously feels much, much better for you as like to your soul. So like we're happiest serving other people. And I think God, the creator of the universe, I think they bestowed upon us specific gifts to each individual person. So I'm the number one Eric in the world. If you try to be me, you can't be me. I'll beat you at being me any day of the week. But on the flip side, if I try to be you, I can't beat you at being you because you're you. You have your gifts. So if we're happiest serving other people and we're the number one us in the world, the best way we can serve other people is by following our genuine intellectual curiosity because again, we're number one in the world and that's how we can serve other people. And this just manifested for me in two particular companies. The first is ShopX. It's a Web3 e-commerce platform. The why behind that is my overall goal is to live a nice, peaceful life. I felt that more difficult if the money system was corrupt. That led me to physical gold and physical silver as a potential solution. And that led me to Bitcoin. And ShopX is just a way for me to onboard people into that ecosystem at scale. And the second company is Data Inc. That's the first ever AI powered matchmaking service. And the why behind that is, well, I think positive relationships are extremely important for genuine human happiness. And I think social media and dating apps have had a negative effect on that. So Data Inc. is just simply trying to turn the tides on that.
Ooh, there's a lot. I mean, you
Oh yeah.
oversimplified it there, but but we got to expand on that. So the first things first, I love what you said about you being you number one. No one can beat you at that, and you're right. I mean, there's people that can do similar things, but no one can copy anyone. No one can be the other person, and that's a fact. You are Eric, and you are unique. I mean, there's plenty of Erics out there,
Yeah.
but it would not be you, right? And everybody's got their own signature. I mean, we have that in our fingerprints, in our retina. Well, it's really true about our identities. You are you, no one can be you. And you're right. You've meant to be doing something different. You also, I love what you said about how you kind of look at different things and kind of, hey, there's an opportunity here to change it for better, whether on the data, the data, the dating piece or the actual, financial space. But now, and use that in a powerful way of the new tech, a new wave of AI as well. So let's talk about ShopX Web3. Now let's deep dive on that one. As the first component. Um, how does that work? I mean, you referred to Bitcoin and finances, but so what was the driver? Because I mean, at the end of the day, like what was wrong with the picture, so that you saw that there's a solution and a need for it.
Yeah, so I think overall the internet's going through an evolution between Web 1 and Web 2 and Web 3. So if you want to break it down simply, so Web 1, it's the first stage of the internet. Just think of read only. So you can go online, you can read stuff. That's fantastic because that helps spread information. And obviously, the more educated we all are as a human species, generally the better it is. Web 2 is where we're at. You can read and write. The easiest way to frame this is social media like Instagram or Facebook. So you can read, write, but you can't own. So I can write my own Instagram post. You can read my post, but in this case, Instagram owns the post. So Instagram can sell our data. They can cancel us for whatever reason they feel like. Instagram and the governments are in power at this point. Web3, it's really powerful because it's read, write, and own. So not only can I read content and write content, but I can own the content, and that content comes in the form of an NFT or a cryptocurrency. So let's say my area of expertise is e-commerce. I'm an e-commerce brand. I create an NFT collection or a pass. I either give you the pass or you purchase the pass. Now there's a connection between me and you, the creator and the consumer, and we can send value our way. If you tick me off or something, even though I created the pass or created the the content, I can't take it away from you. It's your content. The government can't come in and take it away from you. It's your content. Instagram or Amazon, they can't take it away from you. It's your content. And this is extremely important, I think, with where we're going, like as a species. Like, I think there's powers that are trying to control a lot of things. Like, imagine that we say something on this podcast. Who knows what's okay to say 10 years down the line? Like, I could say, hey, you're a man. I'm like, well, I guess not anymore. And then they come in, like, we both said that 10 years ago. It's fine now, but retroactive, like, okay, these guys aren't okay. Let's cancel them. Not only can we take away our content, but they can affect our money. And to me, money is content, money is energy, and they can just cut us off to force a certain agenda. So having the freedom and ownership, I think, is extremely important. And I think cryptocurrencies, it helps fix the base layer. It helps elevate because I think most people are in a state of scarcity. I'm in a state of abundance. I think you're in a state of abundance as well. The more people who are in a state of abundance can help more people, but we're in a state of scarcity, and part of the reason is the monetary supply. So again, I view money as neutral. I think there are bad ways to make money. I think there are good ways to make money. I think if you make money in a bad way, karma is absolute and it's going to come and bite you in the ass. But if you make money in a good way, you're probably going to use that money to make more good for other people. So right now, in our present system, if I want to become really rich without producing any value, how do I do this? I place myself right next to the money printer. I extract as much money from that money printer, aka from me and you, as humanly possible. And then I become rich that way. What do I do after that? I'm extracting money from the money printer. I give some of that power to me and my friends. Now the three people next to the money printer. Us three people will defeat the people who don't have access to unlimited money. Now there's six, and it creates corruption at the top. Whereas in the Bitcoin world, let's say I want to become really rich in a Bitcoin world, because again, if you produce a tremendous amount of value for a lot of people and you become rich, I think that's a good thing. So let's say, Hurricane, if I want your Bitcoin, which I would love your Bitcoin, if you want to send me your Bitcoin, feel free. How do I get your Bitcoin?
Mm.
I have to produce something of value for you, and then you give me your Bitcoin. So if I'm trying to get as much Bitcoin as humanly possible, I have to produce a lot of value for a lot of people to gain other people's Bitcoin. So if that's the base incentive structure for humans in this, like, not, I'm not thinking about this generation, because like, yes, it's great that people do that, but like, imagine if that's just baked into the core of like two, three, four generations down the line, where everyone's not trying to scheme on like, how can I extract value from the system? How can I take their money? Everyone's goal is like, how do I generate value for everyone else, increasing the size of the pie for a lot of people? And I think that's a system that cryptocurrency enables. And if you want to link it back to AI helps leverage that. So let's say hypothetically, I'm Filipino. Let's say 50 years ago, I'm a Filipino. I'm the sons of the Philippines. It just is what it is. I'm probably gonna, that's gonna be my life. But now with cryptocurrency and AI is a tool for people to leverage their creativity. So let's say I have an idea as a poor kid in the Philippines. Like 50 years ago, I'd have to hire a graphic designer, have to hire like a website, have to bring on a lot of people. It's just time and capital I don't have. But now with AI, I can leverage my own creativity to manifest a company faster. So now I can use AI to write the code for the website. Great. That saves me a lot of money in development costs. I can use AI to write copy. I can use AI to write graphics. I can use AI to help me run my business and create that business into a real thing. And that business can start to serve other people at a quicker rate, thus bringing me out from scarcity to abundance. And if the business doesn't work, at least I had the ability to try. At least I had like a fair shot at trying. And who knows, I may have learned a lesson, and the next business venture may work.
Woo.
Yeah. Sorry, I
There's,
kind of
there's,
mono. Sorry, I'm kind of
no,
monologue for a bit.
no, that's perfect. That's a lot of good stuff there. I mean, so first things first, I have to say again, you got quite a few firsts on the show today, and
Yeah.
that's a great thing. You the first person that actually broke down the web, into those three phases, which most of us will probably be not even clear what that was. So
Yeah.
thank you for clarifying what Web one, two, and three are. And really, it is a progression, right? And I love what you said. You basically the next standardized version of like where we need to be, where we have better controls. And by the way, you said something very powerful and it's very real, and I just experienced it a couple of weeks ago. And you're right. If you say something wrong, there are controls in place, and some of these platforms will take you down. And we experienced it 2 weeks ago where they took our YouTube channel down because
Oh,
well, we have a backup one, but obviously all the work and all the subscribers now they have to revamp and go to the new one. But the fact is, because we have our podcast feed into it, because they created that podcast way where you can actually link to your RSS, and in our podcast we don't cut corners. I mean, people, we have different podcasters and different shows, and basically they are basically what they are. And in YouTube you have guidelines like you have in Facebook and some other social media. And so if some of those, I guess, messages are not welcome, and they get to be the ones to decide whether they keep them or not. I get it, it's their platform, so they did that. So you're right, if you have no way of being independent, that's a problem. You are relying on these platforms, and if they shut you down, you basically are not heard anywhere. So you have to have your own way and platform. That's when you and I were just talking before the show about how the network is and where we want it to be, where you have YouTube and you have the NBC network. You don't have to go to YouTube. You go to NBC network and watch it, and listen to it no matter what. YouTube is just another farm for us where we can, kind of farm out our content. But so what we're doing now, we're curating, curating, what goes on YouTube. So just to make sure we don't get that same problem. But I think you've just resolved that problem for the world, because now people can do something different about it and have the controls and keep it. Now, how to do that? Obviously, that's the tech part that your expertise. Now, I still don't understand it personally, because I mean, there's more to that. Obviously, you have the expertise, but now you also talked about like the Bitcoin. Now, is that Bitcoin only, or is that just all cryptocurrency? And you also talked about NFTs. Now, for those people that may not be familiar with either one, would you just care to kind of expand on those? The Bitcoin cryptocurrency. I mean, we all know Bitcoin. I mean, it's this new currency model that's being created for. I mean, it's been a minute now. It was up and it was down. It's going up again. And there's a lot of debate, about it and how, sometimes there's always the powers that be that maybe it's a competitive power and against,
Yeah.
the common systems. So let's talk about that because in essence, there is a dilemma there because essentially, when we're talking web and internet and all this stuff, it is still using, uh, I would say, governmental property in a way because when you think about it, I mean, this all started through the military and stuff like that, right? I mean, at least that's the common knowledge that we
Yeah.
have. And so we're using whether it's satellite, whether the networks, all the stuff. It's still based on some platforms that are beyond us. Now, I guess only the most of us as consumers are not really knowing like how it all works in the back end. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on where we just use the Googles, we use these things, we use that, but where is it sitting? I mean, what's the cloud? Where's the cloud really? I mean, is it a server at Google or is it like somewhere beyond that? How did it all start? I mean, those are some of the questions that, unless you deep dive into these things, you may not even understand. We just know that we're gonna subscribe, we're gonna get here, we're gonna download some forms and platforms into the internet. You have to sign up to service, and you are on the internet, right? But where's that all? And again, this is actually the question. Like, if you have anything on this, if they shut it down, as a matter of fact, God forbid we have an EMP in the world by the solar flare, we're done.
Yeah.
I mean, you just right. Think about it, right? If we live in a digital age, but if you lose power, your digital age is
Yeah.
gone. I mean, right now we're on the show. If power goes, the show ends. I mean, unless we reset it, right? But so how do we kind of prevent all that? So let's break down the cryptocurrency, the NFTs, and then how it all ties in, and really, and what is the dilemma? What can we do to kind of prevent maybe a shutdown, of sorts? Even though you're Web3 and you're in control, but you're still using the the powers that be's, type of systems, right? So how do we? Is there a way around that? By the way.
Yeah, so the cool thing about Web3 is we're all still building stuff, so we're all still figuring it out. So a bunch of people see these problems and they're throwing a bunch of stuff at the wall, and some stuff is working, some stuff isn't. To break down Bitcoin and NFTs, I think it's important. So Bitcoin, for your listeners, Bitcoin is king of cryptocurrency. It's the first one. I just think of it as digital gold. That's the easiest way to do that. NFTs stand for non-fungible tokens. It's another form of cryptocurrency, aka digital scarcity. The easiest way to think of NFTs is just think of it as a one of one piece of land in cyberspace. So let's say hypothetically, I have a piece of land in the real world, like I have a plot of land. I can do whatever I want with it. I can create a garden. I can create a school. I can create a business. I can do nothing. With NFTs, if you own that NFT, you can add value or add things to that NFT in the form of like could be e-commerce benefits, could be exclusive content, could be an image. You get to decide what you do with your own piece of land in cyberspace. And if you want to send that away, it follows the NFT, the value follows NFT and goes to a new user in terms of where we're at as the internet. So the cool thing about Web3 is the Web2 actually accelerated the speed of Web3. Because think about it, like when the internet first started, like everyone had to get computers, everyone had to like log into the internet for the first time, which adding that hardware took a long time. Like because like you remember when we were younger, it's like, oh, we finally got a computer. This is great. Like that speed, that took a while for people to integrate the internet. So with Web3, it's already the hardware is already there. So it's more of a software. Like let's say you're not into Web3 at all, you're not into cryptocurrency, you can just go to Coinbase and buy Bitcoin and you be in the Web3 ecosystem today versus like just logging onto internet, you have to buy a computer. It's much more cost intensive. So that process increases speed. In terms of where we're at, yes, we are still using governmental systems. And the cool thing about Bitcoin and the governmental systems is the name Bitcoin is a game of incentives. So the incentives align for the user. So I'm incentivized to tell as much people as I want about Bitcoin. And that's honestly part of the birth of ShopX because the more people I tell about Bitcoin, the more seeds I plant, the more people get into the cryptocurrency ecosystem at that more people get into the cryptocurrency ecosystem at their own pacing. So like whenever you want to learn about crypto, you can, but at least the seed has been planted. So the same applies for corporations, like we see in MicroStrategy. So like they're a corporation, they added Bitcoin on their balance sheet. Now that MicroStrategy added Bitcoin on their balance sheet, they're crushing it. The other corporations see that, they realize they have to do that as well. And the same thing applies for nation states. So for example, I think Bitcoin's too big to shut down now because it's too decentralized, but at a point in time when it could have been shut down, how would they do that? all the governments would have to coordinate in one to shut down Bitcoin. And we both know governments won't coordinate with each other, especially when the governments are incentivized to adopt the technology first because they'll be in a better position. Like, for example, El Salvador, they adopted a Bitcoin standard. They buy Bitcoin every single day. That's going to turn out well for them because they adopted the Bitcoin standard. Now, capital from the US is fleeing from the US because it's much the obviously like the cryptocurrency laws here is they're just not clear. That capital is going to El Salvador. Some talent's going to El Salvador. El Salvador is setting up mining situations within their country using volcanoes because they've already adopted that. So now they're moving ahead of the US, and now other countries are saying that, like, okay, we better get on the ball. In terms of where all the web is stored, cryptocurrency also again helps with this. And this goes back to the point of everyone just throwing a bunch of shit at the wall and seeing what works. So if governments wanted to, prior to like prior to cryptocurrency, like the cloud is pretty much just storage. Like it's all servers. Like Amazon, people think of them as a so people think of Amazon as like a place you can buy. First off, it started as a place you can buy books, but people just think of it as a place you can buy stuff. But I think of Amazon's most successful product right now is AWS because you're buying server space to access the internet. So if you're a company, like let's say you start your business, you need to buy Amazon, you need to pay Amazon AWS fees so you can run your website. There's no way around that. So if the government wanted to shut that down, they could target Amazon, they could target Google, because those are the stores of server space that they can control. And I'm sure they've tried that in the past. Whereas with cryptocurrency, it's possible to do this. And people are doing this with ride sharing, with cell phone things, like with cell phone service, where instead of me, AWS running their servers for the power of like 100 people, I could run I can run the server from my computer. Someone else can run that. So it's a more decentralized method of running that. And the more decentralized we get, the harder it is for a powerful person at the top to squash. Because like you can't squash 100 people running laptops throughout 5 different countries, but you can target a place in AWS, like wherever AWS has their servers. And again, that's all still being built out. But the good thing is the incentive structure is baked in because once you get into cryptocurrency, and is what happened to me, you're incentivized to you want the ecosystem to thrive because you'll be financially rewarded, you'll be spiritually rewarded, but it's good for everyone. So then all your energy, where your energy flows, or where your attention goes, your energy flows. Your attention will go to that, and then you'll figure out what you can do with your gifts to help benefit the ecosystem for you and for those around you. So it's nice to have some of the smartest people in the world working and thinking about these problems, despite the unnecessary hurdles that are being set up.
Ooh, well, it's pretty. I love the way you break it down. I mean, first of all, it's flawless to you. I mean, it's kind of like you know exactly like you've seen this as in the Matrix. Just give you see it in a different way. For the
Yeah,
average person, be like, wow, this is like all new. Because again, for the regular person, they just see what they're being given. Here's the way you buy the service, you do this. There's a lot of dynamics going on in the back end, and there's a lot of potential, things that are in controls. But I love what you said, decentralizing things, which means, as you said, it's very difficult to control, who and the more it kind of spreads out, the harder it is to get. I mean, we all know about the dark web, for example, why it exists, right?
yeah,
And there's quite a bit of stuff going on in there that, it's like
yeah,
that's what they call it, the dark web.
yeah, yeah,
It's
right.
there. You can't just shut it down. I mean, maybe, like I said, the only way to shut down everything is like we lose, the
Yeah.
power on Earth.
Yeah, like, and if that happens, because I thought about that too. If like we lose all power on Earth, if you store your cryptocurrency on like a hardware wallet, it's safe when you can gain access to the internet. So it's not like you lose your cryptocurrency. But at the same time, if like simultaneously all the power on Earth shuts off, I think we have bigger problems to deal with than what monetary system we're using. It's like, hey, we need to kind of
And we
band
need to
together.
survive.
Yeah, yeah, we need to survive. And then yeah, then
But
let's focus on that.
well, it's the reason I throw that little concept because I mean, really, at this stage, that's the only thing that can ever, stop things. I mean, the movements and everything is just so intricate and so. I mean, there's so many moving parts right now all over, and there's so many people involved in this. Both independent governments, and you said there's always the race, who's going to have better control than the other, and so. You're right. I think human nature will just keep pushing towards where this is becoming the new thing versus the opposite, right? I
Yeah.
think the next thing maybe a Web 4. I don't know. Maybe there's
Uh,
there's an upgraded version of that Web 3. But
I have a funny joke about that. And to your point, cryptocurrency is anti-fragile. So anti-fragility is essentially what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So obviously everything that doesn't kill Bitcoin or kill the cryptocurrency ecosystem, we learn from that, we adapt. So like a virus, it just kind of spreads. A good virus, a positive virus. And I like to joke that Web 4 and Web 5 is Web 4 is like AR, VR, cryptocurrency, AI, all rolled into one, like a Ready Player One type of thing. And
Ooh,
Web 5 is like we've had enough of this. We're like, okay, we need to go back outside. We need to get some sun. We need to interact with actual people again. So that's what I think Web 5 is, because everything always circles back. It's a
what?
spiral.
But I see again. That's the vision that you have. Is that you're already 10 steps ahead, if not 1,000 steps ahead of like what's the next move. Like, and I think every like if you're into programming now, I'm not a programmer, but I've studied enough of it, in college back in the days, at least to understand the basics. But it's like you got to look at all options and all different scenarios, different conditions and all the different potential outlooks, and basically you look at everyone and you fix for them, and you're looking at that, ahead of the game, like what will be the next phase, what will be the worst piece, how do we prevent this from happening and the other from happening. You already got it figured out. Like I said, the only thing that would ever stop it is a global shutdown, and that will be a different problem that we will have in humanity.
Yeah.
But you're right, and there was actually a point a couple of years back, I think, where the Bitcoin was a little bit struggling, and went down in value and all the stuff. But again, some people are skeptical about, like, putting all their money into it, and I mean, it's pretty. I think what was the highest, like in the 70,000 mark for a Bitcoin? Was that what the highest point?
Yeah, so it reached around 70K, but the thing I would say to the value thing is it is volatile, but that's gonna happen with a new currency or a new financial system. It's volatile. And the volatility is actually part of its benefit because the volatility brings in attention. So most people, including myself, you join the cryptocurrency space for the gains. Like, oh, free money. Of course, I want free money. Who doesn't want free money? You join, it shoots up, it shoots down, but now's your attention. The spikes, they draw you in because you're like, why is it going up? And then you start searching the ethos behind it, like, oh, okay, this is why it is. So you come for the gains and you join and then you stay for the ethos. So like the volatility is baked in, and eventually, obviously, the more capital, the more liquidity it has, the less volatile it'll get. And the thing I would say against that is, yes, it's volatile, but it's volatile upwards. Like it started at zero, like like over 10 years ago, but now it's at 70K. So it's volatile, but it's going volatile upwards. Whereas if you look at the US dollar, like what it's like since the creation of since they left the gold standard or whatever, it's lost like
Uh-huh.
99.9% of its value. It's like, okay, well, if I'm guaranteed to lose there, might as well put a little bit in the financial boat. And again, like people are skeptical as they should be. The key thing about cryptocurrency is its ownership. It's like it's your ownership. Like if I lose my cryptocurrency, I can't call Chase to tell them to fix that. But I have to do my own research on it. So I have to research on why I should buy it, and I should put the amount I have that I feel okay with losing. But the thing is, once you buy that small amount, like let's say you buy $5, you now have skin in the game. You're unlikely to research something if you don't have skin in the game because you don't care. But you have $5 now. It's like, okay, I kind of know how to work it. I own this cryptocurrency. Maybe I watch one more video. That one video leads to another video, leads to two, leads to three, and then all of a sudden all your mind space is focused on that. And then you have 100% of your portfolio on Bitcoin. So,
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, and I love what you said. I mean, the dollar. I mean, we see it,
yeah.
literally,
Jamba
losing
Juice,
value.
Jamba Juice is $10. I'm like, I went for Jamba Juice for like 10 this week. I'm like, Jamba Juice is $10. Come on, man.
Well, it's amazing. I mean, it's lost its real. I mean, there's no. I mean, anyone from financiers, expertise will tell you there is no value to the dollar. I mean, it's just paper. It doesn't have anything against it. I
It's
mean,
it's digits now. It's not just paper.
yeah,
Yeah,
you're
I
right.
wish I wish your paper. That'd be better than what we have now. At least they can.
You're right.
Yeah,
Your account is not really. I mean, you see, you have, I don't know, $1,000 in your account. That's just numbers in there. I mean, if that system shuts down, and it happened where people lost their money because the system is like, you wake up and the bank doesn't have anything, and you're out. I mean, what are you gonna do? It is amazing, but again, there's obviously from a government perspective, the Treasury, they can print, the money that they need to compensate and whatever, and then that's what they did. The bailing, right? You need a couple of billions. Okay, let's just print some papers and give them to these people to restart, right? But there's no real, true value to them. There's no gold against that stuff as they used to gauge it. But so that's one thing. But now Bitcoin is one. Now, again, that's the other thing. If you buy into this, right? I mean, technically, you don't lose unless, I mean, the value may drop, so you may not be able to cash out anything against it or use it. But if you don't do anything about it, it stays there. Just, when you buy stock, right? It's there unless you sell or otherwise, right? But it may be worth nothing, but also it spikes up again. You said those ups and downs. It goes up, your money is there, and it goes up again, your money is there, and multiplies. So the idea is you have to be a smart investor in these things, and if you do, you just basically know. I mean, you're not going to put all your eggs in there, but eventually, if you have enough, you can growth from things, and have enough cash flow that can keep you going from the financial aspect of it. But you're right, it stabilizes in a way, and it's got the whole thing. Now, the one thing I always question is like, well, you can't use it everywhere. I know there's some places where you can use Bitcoin, for example, to purchase things, and they have even these machine stuff. So that's one question. Now, what if they don't allow you to actually use any? Let's say the system says, okay, well, there's a policy that you cannot use your Bitcoins. I mean, you have this currency that you cannot exchange. Is that even a possibility?
Yeah, no, it's a possibility. It's honestly a probability at some point, and that's where the incentive structure of the game theory ties in. So let's say hypothetically, the U.S. completely bans Bitcoin. First off, if they ban something, it makes more people get into it, like why are they banning that? Looks into it, and they can never stop me from sending you Bitcoin and vice versa for goods and services. So from a peer-to-peer standpoint, it's going to work. But if the U.S. develops a policy like that, all the capital is going to fly. Other countries are going to see that, and they're going to fly, and then they're going to want that capital, so they'll make friendly policies for the cryptocurrency network. And in terms of Bitcoin, it's like, why would you want to spend? Like, I'd prefer to spend my fiat any day anyway. So, like, if I can spend fiat, I'd rather spend fiat than Bitcoin cryptocurrency.
Interesting. Well, I love what you said. I mean, technically, you could trade with other people and against goods and services, right? And you don't have to need a particular machine or any system to actually cash out against. And I love what you said. Like again, it's a competitive world. There's always a country or place that will feel like, hey, I'm going to capitalize on this and basically monopolize this. So again, I think that game is not going to end.
Yeah,
It's
no,
just going to be, so it really incentivized the way it sounds that it incentivized the governments to just get with the program and make it, somehow. But they, again, it's you mentioned controls earlier, so they obviously you do expect some controls and some, measures where they can have a say in how things operate in the financial system, right? So it's pretty interesting as I guess, an irony, right? You have one piece here that is almost like on its own, but you got to put some controls on it, and it's a little hard to do it because there's so many other people that are not centralized doing this. That's the other thing, and plus, it's not just Bitcoin. Bitcoin. I mean, there's a lot of cryptocurrency out there. I mean, you can buy it from pennies or from thousands of dollars, right? I mean, Ethereum and all these things out there are existing. I mean, you go to Coinbase. I mean, there's a whole list of things that you can monitor. From small, currencies to large currencies. So and every day I think there's new ones. You can even create your own crypto, if I'm not mistaken, right?
which we did. Yeah,
Well, there you go.
yeah.
so
But no,
so
on that point, I think it's really important for the governments to help like some influence on that because like I know cryptocurrency libertarians like they're like no 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 government, but the reality is in cryptocurrency it's not as much anymore. But like even like 2 3 years ago, a lot of them are scams because they can't. So people are just producing scams because there's no regulatory clarity. They're like oh we can, and the good actors they don't know what to do even though they're trying. Like Coinbase, Robinhood. You also like the Wells notices that they're issuing. Like they're like we're trying to meet with you but you're not helping in any way. And I think that's a push from the top to prevent cryptocurrency. But cryptocurrency is such a powerful movement. We both know politicians are self-serving. They really only care about them. So it's going to become a politician that adopts cryptocurrency, such a powerful and positive movement of the youth. They're going to win. They're going to get votes. And who knows? Imagine if a politician wants to make money, they buy some cryptocurrency. That incentive game structure then affects them. So we have like congressmen like Loomis and Tom Emmer who own Bitcoin, who own cryptocurrency. They see the value, they're pushing it, and they're gaining popularity. Other politicians are seeing that. Like, for example, whatever side of the aisle you land on between Trump and cool Joe Biden, Joe Biden is taking a hardcore anti-crypto stance. People are raking him over the coals for like cryptocurrency. Like, they're like, what are you doing? Stop this. And then Trump comes out the next day. He makes a funny video. It's like, hey, Joe Biden doesn't even know what cryptocurrency is. I'm good for crypto. And now the crypto community is rallying behind Trump. And you don't think other politicians are seeing that?
it's amazing how that is. I mean, you're right. I mean, in the environment, especially in I guess some sort of a democracy, like we call it democracy, right? In the States, for example, right? You have this ability where you have elected officials who have a need for fundraising to actually get where they need to go and for their campaigns and stuff. I mean, these things can be funded a lot of different ways. We have obviously lobbying and things, but you can have a good lobby, and I'm not sure how strong lobby of cryptocurrency, but imagine, that, as you said, that's a perfect example. We have one president, or candidate who is completely ignorant to this fact or anti this whole, wave. And
Yeah,
then you have one that is so business oriented that he is always into the money making and what's the next move. And it changes dynamics. And you're right. So that
yeah,
kind of moves. And by the way, this is not just in the States. Any other
yeah,
government is about the same concept where they see the value and it makes you rich, and why not? And then it gives you more popularity and things like that. So and that's the thing. Politicians, you get again.
Yeah,
Remember,
I agree.
our politicians are getting older in age too.
Yeah,
So you're gonna have a new wave of maybe Gen X, Gen Z that are coming up into the ranks, and millennials, whatever. All these things are going to change in time because the mentality is different. The way they see things are different. They're going to be more hip to the program. I mean, think about it, right? It takes generations to actually get acclimated, and we know that. I mean, technology is not adopted quickly by the older generation. I'm
no,
not judging. I mean, there are people that are savvy at
it's
all
just
ages,
fact.
but you're right. It's just harder to catch on. I mean, unless you are maintaining, you get a gap. I
Yeah,
mean,
like
that's a fact. That's a fact. If like again, this show definitely is bringing a lot of value to just educating people about what these things are, and that's why I'm asking these questions because I think there's a need to educate people more about like what I mean. We're going to touch on NFTs, and I love your quick definition of NFTs, just your property on cyberspace. I mean, you can. I mean, there's a joke. You can buy Mars property or property on the moon, right? Well, it's his name. Cyberspace is just another, place where you have, a lot of space, and you can buy stuff and you can create things and they'll be yours, and whatever it is you can deal with it. It's just a different world that you actually it's a virtual world that you can exist in, and you can do things in there, and it's amazing how, again, you got to see it. Now a lot of people may not see that because they feel the tangible. They want the tangible stuff. Like I know what a property is, a land piece. I just don't know what an NFT piece. Like what is that, and how is that going to contribute to my work? I can build a house, and live in it or rent it and collect stuff. But how does that work in the NFT world? So we'll touch on that quickly, and you can expand because I think ShopX does a lot of that stuff, if I'm not mistaken. But so you'll guide us through that. But really, just the idea of us discussing this, just to bring it closer to people, like because I think you're clarifying it as easy as it gets, and then even for me, like I'm not too close to it, but I'm aware of it. I understand it a little bit, and just help me even like at this point just to clarify a little bit more about how this whole thing works. And these are all the questions that I would think about, like how is it safe? Because if someone is willing to invest right now and get into the world, that's the first thing they're gonna ask. Like, well, how safe is it? Is it going to be the stuff? Is my money going to be there? What happens? What are my risks? And these are the questions that anyone, if you want to do anything, you ask these questions, like all the bad ones, so you can clear all those objections. And now you're like, okay, I'm clear. I can do this. It makes a difference, right? So thank you for breaking that out. Now let's dive into the NFT world. I mean, similarly, that's another new world that is good, and people make money on these NFTs. You can create your own, and it's a sellable piece, and whatever that is, as you said, it could be an image, it could be a service, it could be anything, right? So let's expand a little bit that, and then let's tie that into ShopX, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. So I think you brought up a good point. Like the older generation is slower to get things. Like my cousin, who's at the time he was in middle school, he plays video games. He understands cryptocurrency much better than my dad. It's just like it just makes sense to him. And the funny story is the creator of Ethereum, Vitalik, he actually started the protocol because of the World of Warcraft character got nerfed. So like he had his upgrades, and then they updated the patch, and then the upgrades got worse. Like, what is this? It was the person who created Ethereum. In terms of NFT, at its core, it's just a connection between a creator and a consumer. So whatever the form the creator and the consumer takes, it depends. Like it could be e-commerce, it could be a musician, it could be an artist, it could be a professional athlete. So let's say hypothetically, I'm a musician. It's my first show. I launched my first show. Either the ticket is an NFT or I give you an NFT or whatever, you buy the NFT. Now there's a connection between me and you, and whatever value we want to trade between each other, we totally can. So it's my first show, you support. I'm like, thank you. I'm very grateful. 20 years down the line, I'm the main stage at Coachella. I'm like, okay, these are my OGs. They were there for me from day one. Let me airdrop them benefits. Here's some backstage passes. Here's a bunch of stuff. And from the e-commerce brand perspective, you can add e-commerce benefits to that. So you can have an NFT. It's like a loyalty pass that people own. So it's like a timeshare versus just a regular share. So if you feel like you have ownership in the company, that increases customer loyalty like sixfold. It increases your conversion rate. So as an e-commerce brand, you're trying to sell stuff. If you get people to buy into your NFT program, they feel ownership, you can have conversion rates of to 80%. And the cool thing is, let's say you're an e-commerce brand. I had launched an NFT, you now own it. There's that connection between me and you. You can like vote on products, you can early access products, you get discounts, you get in real life events, you get all of that. But let's say hypothetically, 10 years down the line, and the next Nike and the next Lululemon, your NFT, because you own that, there's a secondary market. You can sell it for a profit if you so choose. And if I want, I can program royalties too. So if you're tired of the benefits, you can sell it. I can get royalties. Everyone wins. But if my brand shoots up, so does the value of your NFT. So it's a way to share the value rather than normally be the corporate shareholders. It's now the community who helps share in the value. So it's a win-win, I think.
So it's an added value to your commerce and to your business, basically. So you're
Correct.
creating value to whatever that you're promoting or providing as a service or product. Am I getting
Yes.
that?
Yeah, so it's again how because it's just an additional stream of Web3 value. Like the core benefits are increased conversion rates, increase word of mouth marketing, increase customer loyalty, and you get to also like increase conversion rates and like increase return customer rates. So in e-commerce, the name of the game isn't acquiring the customer because you'll spend more often than not, brands will spend more money to get that first customer than they make on the first purchase. So how do you get them coming back? You want them coming back to your store 2 to 3, 4 times. And that's where the ownership comes in. If I own a piece of Chipotle, I'm not really going to McDonald's. Or if I own a piece of McDonald's, I'm not really going to Chipotle because I own that. So they keep coming back. Yeah. And in
So
terms of
instead of giving a share, you give them something different. An NFT, would be basically a token to get in, right? Or
yeah,
to be.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And however the brand wants to use it, it's up to them. So they get to decide their benefits. And we have three different use cases I like to break down. The first is the enterprise versus the midsize versus the smaller brand. Our enterprise is Fox Studios. We work there's new show Capopolis. They launched an NFT collection prior to the release of the show. If you own a crap chicken, you get merchandise, you get a vote on stuff on the show. Your crap chicken may show up, you get exclusive content. And the cool thing about that is they launched their NFT collection prior to the release of the show. So on their first episode, they already had a community ready to go, and their show hit record numbers. The mid-sized brand will use the Mag Park. They sell hyper hats, and their issue was checkout bots would come in, like there's like a hyper brand, some like within less than a second, a bot will come and buy all the inventory, flip on the secondary market. Customers don't get the product, they're not happy. So they launched the NFT pass where now they're gold, silver, bronze style pass holders. They get early access to products, they get to interact with the brand, but that completely solved their checkout bot issues. So I think that's a cool use case. And again, these brands are just messing around. This is what happened to work for them. But my favorite use case is honestly the smaller brand because obviously the Nikes, the Lululemons, the Fox Studios, the Adidas, they have so much capital. They can just throw money and resources, they'll get in. But what we want is the long tail adoption. So if you're just like a random user, you're online, you want to enter the Web3 space, how do you do this? With ShopX, you just download the app and you can start interacting. So we had this one customer, his name is Husky Jackson. He had a dog on Instagram. So like he had a dog, he had a following, but he didn't have a product, he didn't have a way to monetize, he didn't really have anything. So he launched an NFT collection, the Husky Pack, prior to the release of his product. And he's like me and you. It's like, like you have your 9 to 5. It's like you still have to work, where it's like you're not completely balling out. Whereas like he still had his job. So he launched his NFT collection. He made some money from that. He used those funds to create his product. So he uses like a Kickstarter fashion. And the coolest thing is because he already had a group of people who bought into the NFT. He started off with a customer base which as an e-commerce brand, the hardest thing to do is gain your first customers, but that's something he had from the get-go. So that really helped him out.
Basically, all those are converted, customers ready to roll when you have your
Ready,
next.
ready to rock and roll. People are changing their PFPs to like their NFT image. They're telling their friends because you get that organic word of mouth marketing. Any CMO is gonna they're like, no, because most CMOs are like, oh, we need numbers like conversions. I've sent 3,000 emails. I've had a 10% open rate. One of them percent is turned into customers. Yes, that's important, but I think the most powerful form and ads too. Like I think people are tired of emails. I think people are tired of ads. I'm tired if I mention a certain brand. Let's say I mentioned Nike in this podcast. I'm tired of me logging onto Instagram and then being hit with Nike ads. I'm like, come on, guys, enough is enough. But I am not, and we touched about this earlier. The most powerful form of marketing is word of mouth marketing. So if you get customers to feel like they have the ownership of the brand, that's when they're going to recommend the brand. So we've seen people like I was just in like Twitter Spaces. We've seen people come in their PFP and start talking about the Fox show organically and with their PFP from there. And people are like, what's this? Because it's authentic, it's real. And you can't measure word of mouth marketing. It's hard to measure. Like you can't measure second, third, fourth order effects. Like if I tell you, you tell a friend, how does that get tracked? Who knows? But the sale did come from that word of mouth marketing. So I think that's where the power is at.
Oh, I love it because what you're saying right now, I mean, all small businesses, anyone that's starting can use this as a new way to really, scale their business and create a lot more I guess, futuristic, if not realistic today,
Yeah.
a way of, creating a following and a portfolio of business and so on, so on, customer base, but it's more creative way to do this. Now, the only question with that is like, well, where does someone go and get started with NFTs and creating their NFTs? I mean, I know there's platforms where you can create your own stuff, but for our audiences, how does that work? Let's say I am, let's say the NBC network, we want to do this and get into the bandwidth, of NFTs and offer that to our, customer base. How do I go about that? Someone can
Yeah.
ask that. I mean, and there's a lot of small businesses. I think there's 90% of the business are small businesses, if I'm not mistaken, or, somewhere in that range. So that's kind of like the backbone, as we say, of America's, business, right? And finances. But let's talk about that. Like, how does that work for someone? Someone watching right now, they might have a little side hustle, a little business, whatever, but they're clueless about how the NFT can benefit them. This particular discussion can really change their life for the better.
Yeah, no, I agree. And normally, if and this is where ShopX come into play because I think Web3 mass adoption is prevented by two things. And I think Web3 for mass adoption to happen, it has to happen on the back end. Like my mom has to take out her phone. She does tappy tap tap. Her NFT does her thing. She gets her discount. She doesn't even know what's going on. She's just happy. She gets her makeup at like 10% off. So she's chilling. So the two things that are preventing Web3 mass adoption are the user interface. So the UI simply isn't there for Web3 mass adoption. If I send my mom to a Web3 product, she's like, what is this? This is hard. So that has to fix. And it's going to get fixed because Web3 is composable. Composability just essentially is the compound interest software, which basically means everyone just copies each other. So once Nike comes up with a solution, like they're not going to send their customers to a jank user interface. They come up with that solution. Adidas sees that, they have to do that too. Reebok sees this, they have to do that. And all the smaller brands can copy and optimize what Nike's built or do their own thing and vice versa. So it's like the longer it's alive, the stronger it gets. And the second reason most Web3 isn't adopted is incentives. Like, why would someone ever want to enter the Web3 space? And that's where ShopX is trying to help because it's like, okay, well, you want the e-commerce benefit from the brand, you have to enter the Web3 space. And brands call it, most brands will call it a pass. They don't even use the word NFT. But if you want the e-commerce, you want the benefits, you buy the pass. That's a 0 to 1 moment for a lot of people. And if you want to learn more about the space, you've already taken the first step. You have skin in the game, and then you can learn more. So in our flagship launch, the over 50% of the people were 100% brand new to crypto, but they wanted the specific hat that came with NFT, so they bought it. So that was cool. In terms of how you get started, normally you'd have to hire a developer, have to hire a bunch of people, and that's just not scalable for the small business. Like what? Like you're running a jewelry store on the side of your normal job, you're going to spend $20,000 to hire a Web3 developer for something that may or may not work. That doesn't make very much sense. So no. So what ShopX did is we're like a Web 2.5 company, so we integrate with two of the major players. So if you're a small business trying to sell stuff online, you're likely going to use either Salesforce Commerce, BigCommerce, WooCommerce, or Shopify to sell stuff. So those are the big four e-commerce platforms. And just like your iPhone has an app store, they have app stores within their app for selling stores. So if you want to get started on Web3 as a online business and you're on Shopify or WooCommerce, the biggest two, you just simply download the ShopX app, create an account, and we've created a no-code solution for you to launch your NFT. So rather than hire that developer, do all that thousands of dollars worth of work, you fill out two simple forms. So if the first form is just like a picture of your NFT, how much you want the NFT to cost, a description, how many NFTs you want made, click next. And then the second page is a landing page. It's like, what do you want your landing page to be called? When do you want it to go live? What's a description? So your customers get a URL. They can purchase the NFT in either credit card or cryptocurrency. And then because we've already integrated Shopify or WooCommerce, it's just on your Shopify page. You can click add products, take away products to the NFT, so you can program benefits to your NFT that way.
But you'll have to have one of those appoint like the accounts such as the Shopify and those like e-commerce platforms to integrate. Or if you get to ShopX and do all this, there is no way. I mean, there's no automation to create stuff. You have to have a base to start with, correct?
Correct. So as of now, you have to have one of those two platforms to integrate freely. But you can always like major brands do this because most major brands have their own e-commerce stack and they require customizations. And they would need a bespoke solution. But again, that's usually kind of expensive and just doesn't really apply to the small brand. So for now, you would need to have that base and already working to work with ShopX. But again, our goal is to bring cryptocurrency to the masses, speed up Web3 mass adoption. So that's something we'll build out too in the future.
And so a website, for example, that is an e-commerce website would not work. You just have to kind of duplicate that in the Shopify version, and then you're good to go.
Exactly right.
All right. Well, again, so just for people, I mean, Shopify, you can start a quick, Shopify account. I mean, the shop is not expensive. I think it's a couple of dollars a month, 20 something dollars a month, whatever, right? And once you have that, unless it only applies to the bigger upgrades of, like Shopify Plus, whatever they call them. Uh, can you just expand on that? I mean, does it matter what Shopify, store you have, or does it have to be like the upgraded version of Shopify? I'm just because I'm familiar with Shopify. That's why I'm asking.
Oh yeah, no, it's just the base Shopify. So you just have your base Shopify store, you download the app, you can search ShopX on the Shopify store, create the account, and then you can launch your NFT directly from your Shopify backend and then add products. And even if you're a brand, you're not on Shopify, there are ways around that too. Because if you really want the technology, you can have your like custom built website running in tandem. You can launch a Shopify store, create a Shopify store with all your token gated products, get that URL, and then add that to your normal website too. So you just need Shopify to connect the e-commerce products with the NFT. So
And once you do that, now you still have to do your own marketing, obviously, and
yeah,
run. Or people can also find you through the Shopify, ShopX.
yeah. So like once you do that again, we're just like technology for brands to use in their own way. So whatever marketing methods you think would work best, we're there to help you out. So like obviously we're there to consult with like these are recommendations, but you as the brand, you know how to market your products best. So like whether you want to do it through social media, a normal Instagram campaign, it's all up to you. Word of mouth marketing, how to build hype. Again, it's up to you. Like for example, the Mag Park, what they did is they created a hype campaign. They started doing social media posts like months before, create a Discord channel, funnel people into Discord. And then when the Discord channel was getting kind of full, that's when they started promoting their NFT passes, use that to gather leads. Like, it's like, oh, would you be interested in this? So as soon as they launched NFT passes, they had a group of people ready to buy. And because they had the leads already ready to go, they helped them with that education. So again, we're there to train the trainers. Like if a brand wants to use our products and services, we're there to help them. And again, like I think you mentioned something very cool. It's like, yes, cryptocurrency has tons of benefits, but there are also tons of risks. And I'll tell you one of the biggest risks that I personally fear of like cryptocurrency. If you lose your cryptocurrency, like if I send you my cryptocurrency, there's no way for me to get it back from you. So imagine like a Web2 brand like Magpark. Over 50% of the users are brand new to crypto. That could be seen as a honeypot for like if I were a hacker, like I would want to join the Discord and try to get people to send me their cryptocurrency. I think that'd be the easiest way to do it. Like it's easier for them to get it from them versus me. So it's not like our business responsibility to train them, but it's our moral responsibility to train them. So like we advise
Aware.
brands like, yeah, like we like, yo, you need to, here are the pitfalls. Here are some documents you can share with us, and they have ShopX branding, obviously. But if you want to white label it and rebrand it to that, we're here to help you. So like we encourage them to educate their community because of that ownership aspect. And if you have like $5 in cryptocurrency, and who cares if you lose that? But some like again, some of the NFTs are more expensive. Like sometimes they're like 750 or 1,000. So like I think education is really important, but that's where the skin in the game comes in because you have that. Just like, well, I have this. Maybe I should look into more. Maybe I should look into self custody. Maybe I should do all this stuff.
Well, so just a quick note. Now, most people think Shopify is products, primarily, right? So you have to have a physical product or something. But it seems that this is also for services. I mean, you talked about like, a TV network type of thing. So there's up different ways to actually participate and be in ShopX, right? Or does it have to be really product oriented specifically?
No, whatever you can sell on Shopify, you can token gate. So what we do is we token gate the checkout experience. So let's say hypothetically you're selling a digital product or a physical product on your website. If I have the NFT, I can gain access to the product. If you don't have access. So let's say you try to buy this product. It's like, okay, you need this NFT to continue the checkout experience. Here's a link to buy the NFT. If you get through, we don't mess with the normal payments. And so like, and we don't mess with the retention emails. So we want to keep it as easy as possible for the brand to continue. And this ties in with our other two. So we have two more products. So that's ReserveX. Our second product is SquadX, and that's the first ever blockchain-based ambassador program. And I think you'll like it because of the whole spirituality aspect is the logic behind that is it's better to give than receive. So every time ShopX makes, so we earn our revenue if a brand sells one NFT pass, we earn 5% and we give half of that with our community. So this creates a positive upward spiral. The more brands use our products and services, the more NFTs they sell, the more Ethereum our community makes, the more posts they get about the more Ethereum they make, the more posts they create. And this creates an upward swell for brands. Like they'll like comment on brands' pages. I'll take their UGC, send it to the brands on LinkedIn, and then we set up sales calls this way. And we designed our ecosystem to be powerful, not forceful. So like when you design our products, and again, like I won't enter a relationship where both parties win because it's not sustainable. Because if one party loses, they'll eventually quit. But if both parties are winning, that's how we keep it going. So when we design ShopX, we're like, who's involved? How do they win? E-commerce brand, they get revenue, they get customer loyalty, they get a ton of stuff. So they win. E-commerce brand customer, they get e-commerce benefits. They wouldn't enter the relationship if they weren't winning, so they win. ShopX wins, we get revenue, we get to onboard people into cryptocurrency, we win. Cryptocurrency wins as a whole because there's a there's a well-deserved negative connotation around cryptocurrency. It's like not many people are trying to onboard like the masses into cryptocurrency, so we're one of the few companies doing that. We win. The world wins because of what we talked about earlier. I think cryptocurrency is a better incentive structure for us. So the more people get into that space as a 0 to 1 moment, they win. Yeah, they win. Our community win, like ShopX community. The more we win, the more ETH they get. So obviously they're winning. Um, and generationally, if the more people we get into cryptocurrency, the more people are into value creation versus value extraction. Like generations down the line win as well. So it's like we just want everyone to win.
That it sounds like a win-win for all, and that's really. I mean, again, when you hear anything about a business or a proposition or anything, if that's the first thing, like, well, what's the up and down, right? I mean, everybody wants to be on the up, no one wants to be on the down, but understanding that it's a win-win, it's always a positive thing, so it creates a better opportunity and better attraction for people. Now, you talked about selling NFTs. Now, that could be anywhere where NFTs are sold, or there is also a way to do this through ShopX directly.
Yeah, so it's so how you would launch NFT as a brand, you would get a simple URL page. So like after, like, let's say I'm an e-commerce brand, I launch my NFT collection, I would get a URL. However I want to sell that, and however I want to get that URL out there, I can. So I can send it out, I can put in emails, I can post on social media. The customer hits that URL, like, okay, I want this NFT. I see that NFT picture, I see how many they are, I see the price, I see the e-commerce benefits clearly stated. Okay, I want the e-commerce benefit that comes with this NFT. What do I do? Then if I have cryptocurrency, I'm in the Web3 world, I can purchase an Ethereum, which is great. But we've also integrated with Crossmint, and Crossmint empowers customers to purchase the NFT with credit card. What's happening on the back end is the customer is technically purchasing Ethereum and paying for the gas with their credit card. The brand is like getting paid that Ethereum, but all the customer sees is a credit card sequence, and they get their NFTs. And at that point, once the customer has an NFT, because we created this, and this was kind of difficult to create on the back end, but we created so the brand owns the NFT collection from the get-go. So like it would have been easier if we just launched everything on behalf of the brands, but then we would be the owners of the NFT collection. So that won't work for the brand. But since the brand owns the collection, they can work with already secondary markets where NFTs are sold, and that's where they can program in their royalties. So once the customer has the NFT, they can sell it, they can keep it, they can pass it on, they can do what they will. And on the brand side, they can program in royalties as well.
I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna take my hat off to you guys. I mean, because you took the current world of e-commerce and all the stuff, and you integrated not only the NFT world and the Bitcoin and all in one, and then you made it so easy to be attractive to market, to build, to create customer base, and to create an opportunity, and really a win-win for all. I mean, that's a pretty cool concept. I mean, I don't know how it went, but I guess you were there thinking about, like you said, got that inspiration. The divine stuff was there,
So
and you
it's
were able to
it's a spiritual download.
listen. There's nothing wrong with that, man. And by
Yeah.
the way, people may find that funny, or they be like, "What the hell are you guys talking about? This is so woo." But the fact of the matter is, there is no one that has created it in this world or invented it or came up with something. And you ask them, they're gonna be like, "We were sitting, I was thinking, and this idea came, and I was thinking and contemplating, and this thing, like a eureka moment, right?" That eureka moment is really, that's what the download is. Like, you just like, you feel the need to do something. You feel the idea. It's like, you have this vision, and then you're up, you work on that vision. I mean, obviously you got to do the work, but you somehow find yourself into this path, and like, you still cannot really understand it. I mean, really,
Yeah.
most of people would probably say, like, I don't know, I just had the urge to do this, I needed to do this, and I kind of knew how to do it, and I just did it. And obviously you got to use the knowledge that we have currently, but sometimes you get more stuff that is coming on your mind, you don't even know where it's coming from. Now, again, folks, you're watching this, it might sound like weird the way we're talking
Wow.
about this, but that's real. I mean, and you probably has experienced it. I'm talking about the audience. You probably had similar experiences. You just maybe not taking them to the next level, or maybe not believing in those things. And
You
sometimes
know,
people say, they ask me like, why are you into this media stuff? I'm like, listen, I know I have to, and I'm doing it, and I know what my vision is. I see it. I can see how why this is important and what's going to benefit people. But I can't tell you otherwise. I mean, I can't do otherwise. I cannot go back. I cannot stop it. It's just never going to stop. That's all there is. I mean, even if I die, it may not stop. So, you have to continue. Somehow, somebody will take it over, or at least it will be, a legacy of me. But that's really important to realize that this stuff is real, and you obviously put it all together in a technological, realistic and futuristic way, because you're really talking future here. I mean, this is beyond just the time. I mean, this is like you're still at the core, and I'm sure you're just going to expand. I'm sure ShopX will be like amplified over the next, years, if not decades, and it continue to grow because you're talking about stuff that is, real. It can make a difference, and it's really a wave of the future.
Yeah, no, and you're right. And there's something I do want to touch on that I think is very important. And I think the woo is 100% real. The most beneficial thing I've ever had done was start a spiritual practice of meditation. And once I did that, things just started working out because I think the universe is work. Like I think God is working. Like God has a plan. I'm too small and insignificant to understand the plan, but the plan is always working in my favor. So if something negative happens, it's all part of what happened. And so and again, I really want to touch on how important the woo is just because I know the connotation when people hear the woo, it's like you're like crystals, meditation, manifestation, but all that is real. And like I used to be a doubter before, but in one of my past startups, we worked out of a incubator. So what essentially an incubator is, it's just startup school. It's like we're a desk clump. It was a normal SaaS platform too. We are a desk clump next to other startups, next to another startup, next to another startup, next to another startup, and we had layers too. So like the smaller startups on the floor. As you go up, you get more space, you go higher up. And so that top floor was like the top startup in that sense. And so like Liquid Death was actually the startup right next to us when they started. So it's that type of environment. And at that point in time, I was younger. So I obviously leveraged that experience to grab lunch, grab coffee, go on walks with as many CEOs, as many CTOs that I have in a bunch of different spaces and absorb so much knowledge from them because obviously they're all different. They try different things, they have different products. Obviously, if I can pick up what works best from them and then integrate that in myself, that's very helpful. And I've noticed without a doubt that I think everyone's equally successful. I think everyone's equal in their own different ways. That sounds stupid, but it is what it is. But the people who would be perceived as the most successful, all of them had a spiritual practice without a doubt. So like, there's one specific time I was like, do you want to grab lunch at 2 p.m. on like a Tuesday or Wednesday or something? He's like, no, I meditate for an hour at 2 p.m. I'm like, what? And at that point in time, I was like working like from 6 to 8, like, those like long ass days, you're just like grind. I'm like, how do you have time to meditate every day from 2 to p.m. as a CEO running like a multi-million dollar company, going through raise and all that stuff? I'm just like, well, I can't do all this without my spiritual practice. And obviously, being at that age I was young and mature. I ignored that for a while, but it stuck with me. And then eventually, um, someone recommended a book, A New Earth. I started reading that. That really resonated with me. Then spiritual content started finding me, and I recently went on a 10-day Vipassana meditation retreat. So that's a 10-day noble science meditation retreat that the Buddha used to reach enlightenment. And that was single-handedly the most beneficial experience I've ever done, both personally and professionally, because I think of the world in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. So like just like you turn to a specific radio station, you get that frequency. Oh, you know all about radio. You turn to that radio station, you get the specific radio station. Like if you're saying you're at a certain emotion, like anger, hate, love, peace, joy, whatever it is, that's a specific frequency. So that's why angry people always attract angry people. Sad people always attract sad people. But on the flip side, positive, loving people always attract loving people. So with that spiritual practice, I genuinely wish the best for everyone. So I go into a conversation not trying to sell stuff. I'm just like, how can I help you? And the cool thing is, because I'm pragmatic too, so if I'm going into that conversation with that vibe, they're like, okay, well, this person try to help me. I'm gonna try to help them. And then we're both trying to help each other. It's like a help off, and then we're both winning that way versus both of us trying to like, let's try to sell something for this guy. Which is why I love going on podcasts too so much. Like I think everyone has an inner purpose and everyone has an outer purpose. I think everyone's inner purpose is the same. My inner purpose is to raise my own level of consciousness, to raise my vibrational scale. Because what does this do? It raises those around me. So, like, let's say hypothetically, one person listens to the show, they lead the show better off, their vibe is raised, they go out into the world. Because their vibe is raised, they raise the vibe around them, and it creates a positivity upward spiral. So everyone's inner purpose is to raise their own level of consciousness, and the outer purpose is how does this manifest in the real world. So how do I use my talents, my gifts, my blessings to raise my own inner purpose. And for me, it just happened to be ShopX. It happened to be dotting. But for you, it sounds like it happens to be what you're doing right now. And everyone has their own inner purpose and outer purpose. So they all, the woo woo, the woo woo is important. And I think it's by design that it's been like pushed to like, because when you think of the woo, you think of just some hippie in like the woods where you're just like, just not doing anything, like with no actions, like just I'm gonna sit in this room and manifest $1 billion. Of course, it doesn't work that way. And I'll tell you what, like when I went to that meditation retreat, the level of people were just all over the place. Like one of my closest friends there, he doesn't like working. What he does is he does a lot of jobs and he travels and rock climbs. That's his life. It's what he enjoys. But then another one of my close friends there, he's like an older Indian dude. He used to be high up at Google, high up at LinkedIn, early employee at all of those, managed teams of thousands. He's like, yep, this is the key. The rock climbers like this is the key. A couple of startup founders like the woo woo is where it's at, and it's one of those things. If you don't believe me, like try it for yourself. Like meditation, I think is the most like yes, physical fitness is helpful. Like obviously, I train Muay Thai, I go to the gym every day, I run, I love nature,
Oh,
but like
nice.
yeah, it's
What?
when
Go ahead.
okay. Yeah, but meditation has been the most beneficial thing I've ever started. So I start off my morning every day. I meditate at 4:20 because I find it funny. Then I start my workday, go to the gym, and then because of two companies, my schedule's like bouncing around like calendar calls for different shifts. It is what it is. And then I use Muay Thai as my closing thing because it keeps me online during the day. So like if I eat poorly, I'm most likely going to get hit, which is annoying. But the important thing about that is it forces me to be present. Because if I bring my work drama or whatever into Muay Thai, first off, I get hit more, which is annoying. Because if you're thinking about something else when you're sparring, you just get hit and you're just like, that's unpleasant. But I also can't hold the mitts properly for someone because I'm thinking about them. You screw up that way. So it forces you into the present moment. That's all. It's all part of the routine.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, the woo is real. The matrix is
Oh,
real.
oh yeah, the Matrix is, but
you
you
know,
can learn to hack it too, though.
oh yeah, it
You can,
is. It is powerful, man. I believe in it. And by the way, for people that watch it, I mean, I know you talked, refer to Buddhism and stuff, but in all denominations, meditation
yeah,
is part of that. And so, whatever you believe is, whether you call it prayer or supplication or just meditation or just concentration, it is still the same. But in a form of shape, it does guide you and it gives you the ability to actually get into that inner energy. You know, if you've probably seen this before, think about those portable satellite dishes that you can just walk in the military and you just put them in any location in the world and kind of be able to connect with another communication. Well, same thing. We're I always refer to us as like you got to open your satellite dish, and we have this dish that
yeah,
that picks up the frequencies, and you tune into the right frequency. And if you can get to that real frequency, you're gonna get your outcomes and whatever the energy that you seek. And you're right. You talked about one person can take the vibe from here and take it is a powerful law, which is that it takes 1 degree, one element, one person at a time, and we are a multiplication of one. I mean, humans, we're billions, but it just starts with one. I mean, a domino effect starts with one. So you think about it, that's really what it is. We give one person a little bit of a nugget right now that they can take, and then they will take it to another place, and then the referral business goes in. And whether on the business side, the spiritual side, doesn't matter. It's all the same, and you'll manifest different things. And you're right, this stuff doesn't work if you just like sit here in the zone and you're like, the world's gonna just happen. Nothing happens that way. You got to take action. You got to do the necessary steps, and you got to walk the walk, right? But at the same time, you got to understand these things all tie in. I mean, there are energies. There are, all these forces are real, and yes, the divine is real, and all. I mean,
yeah,
and by the way, even for those people that don't believe in anything, they still believe that there's energy, and so there is still that connection. And so at the end of the day, we're all kind of tied into this world equally. We just have to tap into the right stuff, and that's all there is. And if we do, everything else materializes and manifests. And you're right. Some people just absorb bad energy and that's all they see because their dish is tuned into the wrong side. You can just tweak it. If you turn it to the other side, you get a better, it's like, you can be in the air or you can be in the heat. You choose what area you want to go in and you can get there. And in the business world, the same. And I love what you said. Different people are driven by different concepts and, they find their way. And that's the other thing. And the other part that you stated that's powerful is that you observed all these folks, that are big and like running and multitasking in these large businesses and opportunities, and they all have these similar, traits. And meditation is always, and you'll, if you study any of the greats, you'll find that they had some moments in their life where they took the time for themselves and to just, wonder and ponder and observe and just meditate and absorb energy, in a different way, whether they call it prayer or otherwise, but it's just how it is. And, it just works.
Yeah,
It's a fact.
it just does. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, so now, Eric, we've covered a lot on the Web3, a lot of the ShopX, but now data. So you when I asked you first, you said that the matching world was not there, and it was kind of gave it a little bit of a different approach. But now you figured out a better way to do this through your AI concept. And so, is it AI, by the way? Are we talking AI? Correct?
yeah, AI matchmaking.
Okay. So let's talk about that. How did that work, and how does it work, and was it for, who is it for, and why is it different from the normal apps and things like that that have been for the last 2 decades?
Yeah, sure. So I'm happy to go into all of it. And as you know, everything is related. So how the dotting concept came about is I was on a crypto podcast tour like a couple years ago, because obviously drumming up attention for ShopX and crypto community is good. I went on this one called the Crypto Economy. It's run by this dude named Mark. After the podcast, we kept in touch, became friends, which honestly I think we will too. But we kept in touch, and all of a sudden, this random dotting like this thing, this AI looking thing, started following me on Twitter, which my Twitter's banned too. So like I feel you with just random bans for like no reason. I think it's a competitor reporting me, where it's like, because obviously like in crypto you need Twitter, so I think that's what happened. But we're like, what is this thing? We hopped on a phone call. It turns out to be dotting. I found it funny. I found it helpful, so we started building that. What dotting is? It's the first ever AI powered matchmaking service. So we auto generate profiles for you based on your digital footprint and create matches for users based on their digital footprint. So you connect your so for example, I get 3 matches a day, Ashley, Kimberly, Jane. It's like, okay, Jane seems cool. Tell me more about Jane. Well, she connected her Facebook. She's the oldest, or she's the youngest, you're the oldest. Our pattern recognition software says this worked well. She connected her to LinkedIn. Oh, you both went to Ford University, said the same thing. She connected her to Instagram. We both go to a lot of national parks. Oh, she connected her to Spotify. Oh, did you know you both follow this one artist? They have a concert coming up. Would you like me to suggest a day with Jane? She gets the suggestion because I connected my social media. She sees my profile. She sees I'm like a real person. She sees I'm genuine. If she wants to go for the date, she sees mutual friends, so she's comfortable. Let's say we go on the date, we fall in love, we get married. Then it can act as a relationship butler. So like, okay, you guys haven't been on a date in 3 months. The place you had your second date is having a half off sale of ice cream. We suggest this date. Oh, her birthday's coming up. You don't want to miss this. She just added this to her Pinterest board. We suggest you get the gift. And how this is different from like, let's use Tinder as an example, but it applies to all the dating apps. Because so first off, in the dating app marketplace, it's pretty much a monopoly run by Match.com. So if you reach 1 million users as a dating app, Match will usually generally come in and buy you. So like if it's in a monopoly, the disruption is not unlikely. So the three main problems with dating apps right now is the first is the top 5% of users get access to everyone on the apps, creating like a very skewed marketplace. So like if the top 5 users are getting everyone on the apps, that means the bottom 95 aren't getting any, which is unfortunate. The second issue is it's all physical based. So like dating apps are essentially swipe right, swipe left if you think they're hot or not. That's not the best way to build authentic connection. This feeds into the issue of the top 5 getting all the users on the app. And the third and most interesting is I think it's the incentive structure behind the dating apps. So if you think about it logically, let's say Tinder hypothetically matches a happy couple, they fall in love, they get married. What happens? They then leave the dating app. What does this mean for Tinder? They lose a paying customer. Tinder is working with Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs is not like losing money. Goldman Sachs would sell their mother for $5. So this creates an incentive structure of churn marketing. So how do they keep people on? They have to download the app, download the app, delete the app, download the app, delete the app, download the app, delete the app. So that's why that generally happens, because that's an incentive structure baked into the dating apps. Where what separates Dotting is we're a free app, and we're going to bake in our revenue structure of if you book a date through our service, if Dotting is able to suggest a good date, you like the date, you book it, and you pay for it through dating, we get a commission. So our incentive structure is to get people on as many dates as possible. Because if you like the dates we're suggesting, it's good ones, they'll continue to use this, we'll continue to get paid, which is fantastic. And another cool thing is the churn marketing structure doesn't apply to AI, because AI is really pattern recognition at scale. So the longer you're on our app, the better it gets at matching you. So like if I'm on the app, I say no, 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 no to a bunch of people. It gives me a different type of person. I say yes, it tweaks itself, it learns, and then it starts sending me more people like that. So that works with me on the app and as well as cross-platform. So the more users who are on the app doing that, it'll learn from everyone as a collective and then help generate matches that way. So the longer you're on the app, the better chance you have of matching. And we're also building out the AR portion too. So like if you want, and again, I want to preface everything by saying I prefer to meet people in person because I like to pick up on their energy. And if we vibe, we vibe. But we're also building out the AR portion. So if you want to meet an AR, you'll be able to do that. And the reason we're doing that now is because those like glasses. I think those are I think Apple's following the model they did with the iPhone. It was like when they first came out, it was just really expensive and no one really had that. But like 10 years down the line, everyone's an iPhone because it's less than 1,000. I think that's what they're doing with their AR and VR situation. So I think they're just copying their own business model. So we're building out that portion as well.
Ooh.
And long term, it can be a community building app too. So like dating is just easy because like it's like okay, I can just run ads against Tinder, people sign up, but it can be like find me 5 people in my local area into meditation, into spirituality, into the woo who would like this taco place. Find me 5 dudes. We start to hang out, and we're building out like this is I think going to be our viral feature. It's going to be the tap feature. So you can tap of like we could tap our phones, and if we're both on dating, it can create a match for us and show us what we have in common. So like imagine I was just talking to like someone at like advisor at like a UC school, like imagine your freshman students, they all take out their phone. You've instead of meeting your roommate for the first time and it's all awkward and shit, you just take out your phone, tap,
Like,
it scans your picture. It's like, oh, you guys have this in common. We suggest this place, you guys can do this, and then you can build friends that way.
well, it's thank you for breaking that out. I mean, when you first started explaining, I mean, one thing that came in mind, like this is beyond just dating. I mean, this could be
Yeah.
business matching too. I mean,
But
like businesses can connect, based on their similar stuff. I mean, they're not competitive. They can help each other. Which partner? I mean, especially when you're touching on the LinkedIn and all these other social media, you can track in business that have alike stuff. As you said, this could be more about finding friends that could do similar things and have similar, I guess, attractions and things like that in life. And so it can be beyond that. But I love what you said. This is like, it really knows you better because it touches on all your ends. This is not just information you enter yourself. This is like once you enter your profile, it kind of reads everything. I mean, a good example, I would say, like in YouTube, for example, there's that vidIQ. And what it does, it kind of gives you a little bit more. I mean, I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but it kind of tells you like what is working on YouTube, what the different things, and what thumbnails and what hooks you can use and what keywords you can use and stuff based on your profile. It kind of reads basically through YouTube database and gives you all the stuff. But this is beyond that. I mean, it's every single platform out there pretty much is being used and utilized to actually create your portfolio and build your, I guess, persona. And then now it matches to the closest potential person. And you're right. If there's anything that changes or if it doesn't work, it also looks at those trends and then gives you the better choices as it kind of, it's alive basically. It reads and updates, real time to find you the better options that you have to match with and as partners. And I love what you said. This is not beyond just that first date or first in contact. This is beyond relationship. Even if you're married, it kind of keeps you going. There's always Valentine's. There's always these happy holidays and things like that. And kind of brings you some memory back. So it kind of tracks you. Now, some people can say that's probably creepy. I don't know. Like like there are people like, oh, that's a little too stalky, whatever. But frankly, I mean, it's a choice, right? You don't have to be on it. I mean, if you feel that this is your world, I mean, at the end of the day, we live in a social world that is cyber. I mean,
Yeah.
more people live in social media than they live in real life now. Sadly, but it's fact. I mean, I love the idea of like a visor where you can interact in a virtual world as well. Which, by the way, that is meant to happen. It's going to happen whether we like it or not. Gamer, what is it?
Ready
Game
Player One.
Ready Player One concept,
Yeah.
or or there's a Surrogates, whatever. There was a few movies that actually depicted that, and they're all the same. Even I think there was a gamer, with Gerald Butler, but
Oh, that
I
was
think
that was a good movie. That
yeah,
was
the one,
that was one of those like surprisingly, like Gerard Butler has randomly movies that are just that was pretty good. Like that was
yeah,
where
it was
like the
good. Yeah,
guy's controlling him and he's like,
yeah.
yeah,
But imagine that, right? So that's real stuff, and it's happening. I mean, if you ever used a VR, you will know it is pretty cool. And I love what you said. You did Muay Thai. I mean, so my son has a VR, and one of them I think is actually like boxing and kickboxing in there, and it's really intense when you get in there. I mean, you're on the ring, you have this character, and you're actually making moves with them, and it's just real. But now imagine if you are in the environment where, like even this, where I think the next
Yeah, well,
level of Zoom will be virtual. We just have to like put our visor and we'll be in the same room together.
yeah.
Zoom people, if you do this, just remember this discussion.
And and to tie it back to web to 2 points I'm going to touch on. And the first I think you'll like is just because I think AI is a neutral technology. I think if good people are programming AI, it's going to be good, but if bad people are programming, it's going to be bad. So we're programming our AI with a spiritual base. So I think that's overall positive. And to tie VR, AR back to ShopX, another thing we're doing is we're tokenizing real products. So let's say hypothetically, like we tokenized like I think yesterday we tokenized like $2.1 million in luxury wines, and they're on the blockchain now. So like once the AR VR world does happen, that's the perfect bridge to happen. So let's and our first product we tokenized was like a we chose this product because it's honestly just for the hype cycle where it's like the first product we tokenized was a $250,000 Ferrari just because it was cool. So once we started sharing that, obviously people are like, that's cool. But like imagine that you buy that product in real life, you now the ENFT, that one-to-one digital and physical connection is the perfect thing to translate into the VR world. So now you buy it in the VR world or in the real world, you had that car in the VR world. And let's say it's run by Ferrari because you have that NFT that you own that Ferrari in the VR world, it'll give you token gated access to the exclusive Ferrari launch. So like like there's car clubs with like all the whatever like yeah those kind of clubs. That's gonna be all virtual. And so like if your car has that NFT, you can at any point in time instead of going to like the bougie place, it'll be in the VR world, so you can meet them at any point in time. And on top of that, it works vice versa. So like, you know, Ready Player One, the guy purchased something in game and he got in real life. So let's say I purchased a pair of Nike sunglasses in the VR world. My avatar gets that, which is cool because we access to the Nike, whatever, Nike lounge or Nike concert or like a Snoop Dogg Nike collaboration type thing. Who knows how they're gonna do that? But now that because I purchased that in the VR world, my wallet is connected to my VR avatar. My wallet now owns that NFT. And just like I was talking about token gated earlier, I can go to the Nike store and then I can redeem those glasses in real life. So that physical to digital connections can be cool. And like this helps to because there's a little known issue with the supply chain. That supply chain is kind of fucked up. Like it's a cluster thing back there. So having all the products, tokenized product SKUs on the blockchain, it creates an economy where it's more free flowing. So like we all sell our stuff on Amazon because Amazon's the biggest, but Amazon takes a big fee. If I have a brand, you have a brand, and all our products are tokenized, you can program the commission. I could sell your products on my site. I could sell Nike products on my site. If one of my customers hits my site, they can buy your product. You get the sale. I get a commission. Customer gets the product. Everyone's happy. So it creates some more of a sharing economy where everyone can sell everyone else's product. And on top of that, like let's say Nike tokenizes their products, they can track the data. So they can be like, okay, Eric bought this product, he sold it to this guy, and then he sold it to this guy, and they can track all that data and they can program in royalties to themselves. And on the flip side, me as a customer, I can trace back all the product data to ensure it actually came from Nike. So I can guarantee product authenticity. But that's just coming down the line. So we're launching that product. We're doing a manual, right? I guess this is kind of sneak peek for your listeners. So we just started manually tokenizing products, and we're at about 3 million. We're going to launch Mchugh. So it's going to be like a hub for luxury products at first in summer. So if you want like a Ferrari or luxury wines or like a Birkin bag or something, you want a tokenized version, that's where you can get it. So it'll be like a global access place for products. And the more brands we bring on, the more products that come in, the more powerful the system gets. So it's like, Nike or in the Matrix, since I'm sure you saw the movie, Neo summoned all the guns. And it's like, these are all the products. So we can do that with e-commerce products. So that's a whole other thing. I'm sure if so after this, I'm pretty sure I piqued your interest enough where you're gonna at least loosely follow ShopX, or the content itself will probably reveal itself to you. So in the coming lines, you'll start to see people talking about ShopX, all the crypto influencers, like, oh, ShopX tokenized another $10 million in products. So like I'm sure that'll enter your conscious field in the coming very soon.
Well, I have to say I am so impressed with how you're making a full 360 between the digital world, the two different concepts, and kind of merging everything. And it's really in and out from the real world to the NFT world to the virtual world. It's all happening at once, and you are integrating both digital and real. and you already understand this stuff. By the way, listening to you, I already kind of put the circle and I can see it. Now,
Yeah.
I have to say, this show is not something that you want to watch and hear once. You want to at least listen to it a couple of
Yeah.
times because there's a lot of, I would say, high tech, kind of concepts, but really they're not. Once you kind of break it down and listen to it, you see the connections and you'll get it. And I think once you visually click onto ShopX and dataing and stuff and understand the concept and maybe do a little bit more research about the NFTs and how it all ties in with the bitcoins, with the NFTs, with the virtual purchases, with the e-commerce, with how do all the transactions work in real and stuff, and also how to connect with people. I think it becomes very clear and lucid. And if you enter this world of virtual and you can see it happening in real, you will kind of like, wow, this is pretty cool. This is the future. Now, this is not going to be a substitution for the real world, but it is a
Nope.
world on its own that you can actually interact with. And there's an audience for this, and there's an audience that is pretty into it. And I think the next generation will probably be living a little bit more. And so on and so forth. Eventually, there's a point maybe that everybody will be more comfortable in that one. Now, I'm not a big fan of that because I like my martial arts as you, and there's
Yeah.
nothing that feels better than being in a real ring or dojo with someone. But there is a little bit of a instead of watching TV, you can be in this virtual and you can do virtual exchanges and stuff and meet people. Also, it will bring distances closer. I mean, you don't have to fly to a different country now where you can interact with everybody in this particular world. Now, again, it's not a substitute for the real interactions, folks. So just to be clear, you just have to know that there are two worlds that you can be in. One is and it is lucrative in both. I mean, it's probably more lucrative than actually in the real world. You can do more in this than actually you could probably do on the regular world because there is different triggers and opportunities that you can tap into that can be financially monetizing and also lucrative here. So there's a lot more of that. Well, I mean, we've covered a lot of stuff. I think we've exceeded an hour, but really, it's pretty cool stuff. Your tech, your design, your vision is, I think, big. And I have to say, I'm intrigued. I was happy to have this discussion, and like my eyes get open, bigger and bigger as you are talking because I can see all the different things, and you're already seeing the next stage and next level and next level. You're probably a year ahead already in your mind as to what the next piece. This is what ties into our earlier discussion. When you start building something, you know, you can see it like 10 years from now, where the average person even listening to the show will probably like, get lost in the next month or so because they're not going to see that same vision that you are. And that's actually usually the case when you know what you're expecting, what you want, and you can see like that next big thing. And most people may not be at your own pace, but eventually they get there. And then at a certain point in life, like, oh, that's how it all went. I mean, I always go back to old Disney, how he had that vision of Disney World, right? And people made fun of him, and he was rejected many times to get investors and stuff. But he was told that he lacked imagination. Imagination. Yet look at where he is today, right? I mean, he is dead, but obviously he left a legacy, and his imagination lives on through generations and created a wealth and of technology knowledge and worlds in happiness. Many of that stuff is real. So again, folks, it just you have to be realistic as to what is out there. Sometimes we don't know what's all there. I mean, Eric, you have this powerful tools and spaces that are really unique. And I don't think there's a lot. You're in a space that is still kind of less competitive. I'd say there's some competition, but not as bad as some other things. But you're really moving some way to your direction, and the people that will be savvier, the people that will be more tech savvy, I would say, or like futuristic in their mindset, and they're open to different approaches to life. I think they'll be, they're the ideal audiences. And I think the younger generation will easily get into that. Now, again, folks, this is not discriminating against generations because I'm a Jay Z. I'm in Jay Z. I'm in Generation X. So I'm an X guy, and I'm all down for this stuff, and I love it. But it's up to you. You got to get in. You got to do your due diligence. You have to be buy into the concepts, and it's not difficult. You just have to see. You got to like open your mind to it. Again, that dish, right? We get the
Yeah.
frequencies that we want. you know so let's let we got to close our show. Obviously, I don't want to hold you for the whole day. I mean, you've been early on with me, and you probably have other things. But so just to close our our show today, what can you tell our audiences just to tie it up, and what kind of advice you want to give people before we close today?
Yeah, so first off, I want to thank everyone for listening. I truly do appreciate your time. My goal is to be as helpful as possible. So to the host and to you, the listener, if there's anything I can do to help you, feel free to reach out anytime. And I want to close off with shouting out the woo woo. The woo woo is real. So look into that, start a meditation practice. And so with the Walt Disney example, and I think it applies to ShopX now, I'm thinking about right now. So what's happening is we set, because I believe in the quantum too. I think there's an infinite number of possibilities, and you said two, whichever reality we're experiencing right now is one we're paying attention to. So what ShopX and I think what Walt Disney did is we're setting like we know what's going to happen in the future. We set a strong enough intention to give like this is going to happen, and then we're present in the moment, like moment by moment, day by day, what's happening, slowly working towards that goal. And this is important to be present because just like chess, just like Muay Thai, if you're unpresent, that's when you kind of fuck up. That's when you get hit. So if you're present, there's always the best move you can make. Like in chess, you could have fucked up the last move, but you're on this move now. So there's you may be kind of screwed, but there's a best move you can make at this very moment, and then there's a best move you can make at this next moment, and then eventually it hopefully leads to your victory. In terms of advice, my one thing is I think whether you know it, everyone is a conscious creator, whether you know it or not. So when you're creating something, just don't harm anyone or don't take anything away from anyone, and you should be good because I think we both agree that karma is 100% a thing.
Karma is
Yeah,
real.
yeah.
Woo is real. Karma is real. So
Oh,
it is facts of life. But thank you so much. Because I love what you said about that vision. Like it's a future, but you got to be in the moment. Yeah, I mean it's one thing to see what that looks like, and you can see it, but you also have to be real about today and one step at a time towards that common goal or that fixed goal that you have. The best analogy you gave was the chess. I mean, chess players, they have 6, 7 moves ahead, that's what they think, but they have to play the current move as they go. And, sometimes they have to address the strategy as they do it. It's a strategic game. And that's all there is. So yeah, this been a real, discussion. I mean, this is like, a little bit, of a different discussion, folks, but it's really powerful stuff. And we're talking tech, we're talking, futuristic stuff, we're talking, meditation, spiritual, quantum. We've tied in a lot of stuff, but when you actually listen to it at your own pace and maybe you re-listen to it, you'll see that it all ties in. I think you visualize this through the content. And so the link of, the ShopX will be on the description show. So click there so you can see this whole thing. I think once you start clicking and scrolling through the sites and in the app and stuff, you'll see exactly what this whole, works. And by the way, Eric, so Data Inc. is also linked there in that same, website, or that has its own link.
ShopX and Data Inc. They're different companies with different websites.
So I'll have both in the description. So this way you can, kind of go to this one. And these are apps available, on the, I guess Apple and Google and all the stuff they can download. People can download them.
Uh, ShopX is live on WooCommerce and Shopify. Data Inc. We're going through the app approval process right now, which is taking longer than expected. So hopefully by the time you listen, it's available. But if not, it should be soon.
All right, perfect. Well, so again, one is for the e-commerce piece that's already available. So again, for those of you who are out there in e-commerce, this is a tool that you probably want to have and add to your stuff. And even if like you're entertaining e-commerce, this is a cool thing to start. And it doesn't take a lot. You don't have to have an advanced Shopify. You have a basic one, and you can still have the tools to operate, as I understand it. And then the other one is, I know when it hits Google and and Apple apps, you'll be able to download them and get stuff. It is AI. It's probably going to revolutionize things, on how you meet your match and you meet your partner in life and or business in this, or your in your social aspects of types. But I think it's just taking it to the next level. So, again, my hats off to you and your team and your partners. It's pretty powerful stuff that you've established here, and it is a true honor and a privilege to be part of this discussion, especially at this stage, because I mean it's always beautiful to see like the vision and be part of that. And I know we're probably going to have a comeback, maybe a couple of years now, like as like, hey, this expanded to the next level, and we'll be like, hey, remember, let's reminisce on that first show and where we came from, right? And it's an amazing stuff, and I know there's only success coming up your way. So I want to thank you for being and for taking the time to share in your vision and your work and your opportunities as well as your platforms. And that's about it, folks. I hope you enjoyed today's show, our discussion, our content. Do like, subscribe, follow, and do check out, ShopX, at least so you know how it works. And then I think they can link up to you directly through Instagram, Eric, right? So that's Eric Mchugh. That's your name on there as well, so you can follow the work. And that's all there is, folks. We'll be talking soon. New day, new show, new topic. Bye for now.